This is our backyard. If you've been following along on our channel, we bought this house back in late 2021 and have been attempting to slowly renovate different areas. We focus so much on the inside of the house that we really haven't been able to get a lot done outside. So we decided to clear out some space in part of our backyard to install something that will really put this area to good use. So this was actually all ivy right here. We had a big patch of ivy, like a vining ivy, and then we had some rose bushes, and then what else do we have? We had a bunch of those like calla lily flowers. So we kind of tore all this stuff out because our goal is we're going to put a bunch of planter boxes in here and have like a big garden, right? Like that's eventually what we want to have.
That's the plan. Right now we have a little garden.
Yeah, but we got sidetracked because, as you could see, the fruit trees are all starting to bloom now, and so we wanted to get those all trimmed up before it was a little too late. So that kind of took precedence. We picked up a little wood chipper a few months ago. We finally we had to take it apart and fix it, but then twice. But once we got it all fixed up, we were able to chip the rest of the branches and stuff that we cut off. So the plan for this project was simple. We wanted to create as much raised bed garden space as possible while also keeping the total cost to a minimum. Originally, we had considered constructing the boxes out of a single 2x12 high with 4x4s in the corner for strength, but ultimately decided to double our height to make maintenance a little bit easier. Because we have large fruit trees behind the planters, we also wanted to make sure we could fit a ladder in under the trees without constantly bumping into the planter boxes. To make this all work, we decided that building the planter boxes 4 foot by 8 foot would allow us the space to maintain things from all sides, while also providing a huge increase to our garden area. We were also able to find someone locally who milled these 2x12s out, so they're much cheaper than a big box store, and also have this cool natural texture and pitting in some spots. Because we decided to go with a 4 foot by 8 foot planter, we were also able to purchase these in 12 foot lengths so that we didn't have a bunch of wasted material. We used all redwood for this project. As mentioned already, we used locally sourced 2x12 redwood for the sides, along with redwood 4x4s for the corners. We probably could have saved a little using cedar, which wasn't available at the time, and since we're using this as a garden for our food, we didn't really want to use any pressure treated products, even for just the corner posts. We screwed everything together using 3.5-inch coated deck screws. These should hold up over time in the weather without rusting. Once we had the sides put together, we flipped the planter over and used some galvanized mesh to layer the bottom. We do have gophers seasonally here, and the last thing we wanted to do was all this work just to have a pest come in and wreak havoc. Okay, so we got one down, and just for starters, man, it looks a lot better. However, if you take a look, don't mind all our trash over there. If you take a look, when you see the old planter boxes behind, they are really out of whack. What we're probably gonna have to do is put these new ones in, and then we'll come back afterward and maybe try to level those out. They do have that same chicken wire kind of stuff that we used on the bottom of these. So it might be kind of challenging to lift them up, but it'd just be nice if everything was level. So I'm gonna probably try to start working on the second set of planters and just see how far we get today. We're probably gonna have to finish tomorrow though. So plan is to get one more here in the middle and then one more here on the end, and then that'll be it. We gotta figure out a way to fill these things up because they're pretty big. I'm glad we did a 4x8 planter box. The original plan was to do 4x10. I think that would have just come out a little too far. especially when we have to trim up these trees every year. It'd be kind of hard to get a ladder back here. So I think the way that we did it is probably the better method. Give ourselves 4 feet of space in between each planer. And then, yeah, that should give us plenty of space to grow what we need. We're gonna put some calla lilies back here that we dug up a ton of calla lilies. So we're gonna put those on the end of each planer just to have some more flowers back here. And yeah, so I guess we'll just keep chipping away and hopefully we can get this done this weekend. We'll see. From here you can pretty much see how things are coming together. We wanted to get this second planter somewhat in place, even if it's upside down, to confirm our layout. You can tell it's upside down because we left some of the 4x4 material sticking out on the bottom side. We didn't want the 4x4s flush on top and wanted to keep our cuts simple, so we just trimmed each 8-foot 4x4 into 2-foot sections and laid them out with roughly 1/2 inch of material sticking out of the bottom. From here it was pretty much just more of the same. It is the next day. We got quite a bit done yesterday. We'll back up here so you can see. So we got our first box in, set, it's ready to go. We got the other 2 built, which was the goal, because I just didn't want to leave the lumber sitting out in the weather. It's supposed to rain. Obviously it has been raining, but today I'm hoping we can get that mesh put on the bottom of the two last ones, and then we might level them out with this one here. But I think we're gonna have to do a lot of digging, just because it seems like the ground is a little bit higher and it slopes up on that end. So hopefully not too much digging, but we're definitely gonna have to do a little bit of digging, and hopefully get these leveled out and not make a huge mess, because it is super wet out here. And then that's the last piece, is we're trying to beat the weather. So we will see. I'm gonna get started. And you know, I also wanted to mention too, a lot of this debris in the back we've been kind of keeping, because we thought, you know what, as long as it's like clean, you know, I would say like organic, or just like, you know, waste from the trees that we have around here, we should be able to put them in the bottom of the planters, and then that's a little less soil that we have to fill up in the planter boxes. So we're kind of keeping that stuff in the back there, and then we have some more debris we've been kind of collecting under these giant redwoods back here, kind of for the same purpose. So that's the goal with all this. Hopefully once we have these planter boxes in and we start cleaning things up, the yard will be really clean, and you know, we won't have all this junk laying everywhere. So that's the goal. We'll see how it goes. To make sure these planters were all lined up, I measured off the sidewalk that runs down the length of the back of our house. Once I knew how far away to push the planters, I just made sure to separate each planter 4 feet across from the next. I used our DeWalt laser level to make sure each planter was sitting at the same height as its neighboring box, and then just use a regular level to make sure everything was dialed in corner to corner. The most difficult part of this project was moving all the dirt around. It's hard to tell from the video, but our yard has a decent amount of slope on this side leading back to that short retaining wall in the back. By the time we got this third planter's placement, you can see we were burying it below the dirt about 2 or 3 inches. I wasn't too concerned about this because, as stated before, we still have to fill these planters with something. I had the feeling we could bring the dirt level down around the planters later and then backfill with some type of wood bark to help keep a handle on the weeds. We lost a nut on our wheelbarrow axle, so we went to Home Depot and we blindly grabbed a 5/8 nut, and it just happened to fit. Okay, well, we're starting another day in the yard here. We're gonna try to get this dialed in hopefully in the next week or so. It's been a lot of bad weather, and we don't really typically have this much wet weather. But again, today I had some time and it's raining. So hopefully it seems like it's gonna clear up here for a little bit, long enough for us to be able to get this done. So the goal today, we're going to cap off these sprinklers that we have currently in place that runs down the yard here. And we're gonna use this existing line. We're gonna tee into each of these planter boxes. One there, one in the old planters, one here, and then at the end here, we're gonna tee down the end here because we have a little pomegranate tree here. So we're gonna put a little bit of drip in for that as well. Then once we have all of our drip inside the bins, our goal is to start backfilling all of this with our brush and stuff that we've been saving up just to kind of fill the bottoms of the bins. Then we're gonna dig a little bit of dirt out of this area here, put that on top. And then finally, we're gonna put a nice coat of some nice like organic soil or something a little bit clean that we can grow our veggies in without having to worry about having a bunch of debris in there. So that's the goal. Let's see how far we can get. Hopefully it doesn't rain. Okay, so what did we figure out? What we thought the water was coming from over there, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually coming from over here, and it comes over, and then it cuts across, and then it feeds all across the front there, right?
Yeah.
So I think our plan is we're gonna cut the pipe there. We're gonna put a T into this planter, come across, put a T into this planter, come across, put a T into this planter, and then we're gonna put a little 90 here and feed our tree. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Okay. This part of the project is pretty straightforward. We already have our water line in and plumbed to a sprinkler valve, so we just have to get the water to the right place. You probably saw previously this area just had some 3-foot extensions of PVC with risers on top. Although this is effective at watering the whole area, it's just kind of a waste of water. We also have extremely hard water, so anything in its path will probably just end up turning white over time from mineral buildup. So this seemed like the better path to take. For now, I'm just burying the pipe as low as possible, matching the incoming line's depth, and putting in a male adapter inside each box so we can fill them up and finish the drip later on once the boxes are filled up. From that point, you can see it's pretty much just more of the same, but 3 more times. Once we got to the end, you'll see we put in this little pop-up riser for our pomegranate tree. This pomegranate tree is actually doing really well looking back, and it's great that we put this in, but it probably wasn't the best placement putting it right next to the planter box. Okay, it almost looks the same, but we're actually getting somewhere. So we've got all our drip lines run. We've got our risers all put in each planter box, and we pulled out the old existing sprinkler lines and we put a drip in for our little tree over there. So The next thing we're gonna do is probably start gathering up some of this brush, some of this stuff back here. We're gonna recycle some of this old redwood material that's just kind of rotting away. Throw that stuff all on the bottom of these. And then that's gonna be like a base layer so that we don't have to completely fill these with soil. And then we can start filling these babies up with dirt. So we got a day today where we don't have any kids for a while.
For a couple hours.
For a couple hours.
It was very challenging. It was a decision of watching a movie or coming out here.
And just like we'll take any help we can get, I will take any help that I can get. So we're gonna try to tag team the rest of this dirt, get this filled in, and then maybe run to the landscaping place and get some soil.
Yep, that's the plan.
That is the plan. We also need to test our sprinklers before we leave.
Oh yeah.
And then cover those up, and then we'll be good to go.
Let's do it.
We were unable to locate anywhere that had organic topsoil, so we ended up buying 18 bags of this soil from our local Home Depot. This was about $200 and almost double the cost of non-organic soil, but we figured we had already gone this far, so why try to save a little on the most important part? We did our best here to make sure the soil was over the top of the planter slightly, which should allow for some sinking. This should naturally occur while the organic material we put in earlier slowly breaks down. As you'll see later on, we definitely could have went a little heavier and a little higher, but that's okay. We made sure to soak each bed to help with compaction and hopefully to get some water down deep to assist in kickstarting that organic breakdown. You'll notice earlier we put these 2x4s in. We had an idea to add a trellis to allow our tomatoes and possibly some other vining plants to attach to. We probably should have went for a little bit heavier of a gauge metal, but hey, it's a learning process and an easy fix to address later. Now that everything's in place, all we have to do is put some plants in, keep the water flowing, and with our newly installed drip line, hopefully enjoy our bounty, right?
Well, we've had the garden in place since I think it was like February, March timeline-ish, pretty much whenever we finished that side of the yard, which was in one of our last updates. And it's August now, and so we have a huge setup going now.
So we've been pulling stuff out of the garden now for probably, I don't know, 2-3 months, but it really has kind of picked up over the last 6 weeks or so. We've had a ton of tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, a lot of basil. We had some early stuff over here, which was like lettuce and things like that. But we kind of messed up there, and we'll talk about that. But we have a ton of stuff coming in here. We've got like carrots, and we had radishes. We pulled all those out, but we had the tomatillos. These things are crazy. Look at this. It's like spilling over the planter there. So today, I'm gonna probably pull a ton of this stuff out as far as like what vegetables we can still use. I'm probably gonna save some of that for later so the kids can kind of help out. But I'm gonna first start with pulling out a lot of these jalapenos. Now we definitely made a lot of mistakes here, mostly with this bed right here. I don't know if you guys can kind of see that in the background. This was supposed to be like our lettuce / cabbage bed. I think we put some kale in there as well. But honestly, this one, a lot of this stuff actually, we just kind of overseeded these areas. We just threw a bunch of seeds in there, see what would stick. Now that we've done this one time, I think the better thing for us to do would probably be for us to like isolate that stuff or grow stuff in a tray maybe, and then plant it back into these planters after that. Because unfortunately, since we packed everything so tight, we did have a lot of issues with pests, specifically in this bed. You know, we just had a lot of caterpillars. We had a lot of like pill bugs or roly-polies, whatever you want to call them. And so I think next time, like I said, we'll just space things apart a little bit more appropriately. Now the trellis setup, we were really worried about this trellis because we thought, you know what, maybe it would be too weak to hold all this stuff up, but it actually held up pretty good. You can kind of see up top here, it is bowing down a little bit in the back where we have those cucumbers. But I think what we'll do is we'll probably swap this out maybe this season or next season with one of those like cattle rails, like something that's just a little bit heavier gauge wire, and that'll probably take care of whatever issues we have there. We definitely learned a lot this year as far as like what to do and not to do. One of the big things that we kind of flopped on, I think, also was the potatoes. We planted them kind of late. We thought like, it'll be okay, we'll kind of throw them in the shade over there. They did not do very well at all. We grew a couple potatoes and they were, you know, about this big. So watering was an issue. We put a drip line in back there, but it wasn't enough, I don't think. So we'll probably have to put something a little bit heftier in, or just be sure to stay on top of watering a little bit better. So some of the successes we had were obviously peppers. Peppers did really well. The basil did really well. The tomatoes are doing really well. They're kind of rounding out the season. But the tomatillos also, I'm assuming, grow kind of similar to tomatoes, but they're blowing up. Strawberries, not so much. We planted a bunch of strawberries. The plants are looking good. So we're gonna try to figure out a way to save those over the winter so that they don't die off. But they got real big. We just didn't get a lot of strawberries this year, and I think that's just because the plants were kind of becoming a little bit more established.
It's crazy to look back and see all the work we did to get this garden to where it is. We're very grateful to have the space and now more memories built with our kids on another family DIY project. If you made it this far and enjoyed following along, be sure to consider subscribing and let us know what you thought about this project in the comments. Thanks again for your support, and we'll see you in the next one.
So our plan is to hopefully, I feel like I keep saying that. I gotta like stop saying. Our plan is to hopefully. That's how every one of my comments goes.
I'll just say, I'm continuing on working on this.
I'm continuing on working on this.